Allison CSL. It is such an honor to be here with you all again today. This topic of living out and living loud, when I started processing what does this mean, it took me to my core of how am I living? How am I living out? Am I living loud? And I had to really sit back for myself and think about what is it that I can do differently? And so it's still work in progress, work in process. It's a it's an opportunity to just be in trust and really tap into knowing the divine that's within us. This topic, living out and living loud. At its core, living out loud means living authentically, unapologetically, and fully expressed without shrinking who you are to make others feel comfortable. It's not always about volume. It's about visibility, vibrancy, and truth. So as we kind of break this down, we think about living out. That means like being open about who you are, letting your true self be seen, your identity, beliefs, struggles, joy. No longer hiding behind the mask or the roles that don't fit. How many times have you been in a place or growing up in families when your family wants you to go to school for a certain field? And that's really not what you want, but you followed their dreams. How did that make you feel? And sometimes people get into careers because of what someone else said, oh, you'll be good at this, or this fits you, but does it really? And that's the thing about when we're living out, is like sometimes we get to a point and we'll say, you know what, this no longer works for me. This is not who I am. Let me step into being what's within me. And sometimes people stepping out of those comfort zones, coming from behind those masks, it's an interesting feeling, because what happens is that we allow ourselves to take a step back and think about, well, what will people say? How will they respond to me? And sometimes when we're living our lives, we have to think, who cares what other people may think? And that's the thing about living out. For some people, like in the LGBTQ plus communities, coming out is literal, but it's also a spiritual metaphor for everyone. Coming out of hiding, shame, or silence. What does it mean to live authentically and spiritually free while embracing our divine right to express, to move, to love, and to shine? We have to remember that spiritual courage, it isn't about being loud. We don't have to be boisterous. We don't have to tell the whole world who we are and what we're doing. It's about being real, guided by spirit, and rooted in joy. When we think about the living out, is a declaration that you are no longer in exile from your own truth. Living loud. Now, that's not necessarily meaning that you're shouting it, but you're living boldly with presence. Excuse me. Taking up space that you deserve. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Letting your gifts, your joy, your pain, your opinions, your creativity, and spirit, letting it all shine. This is what we were created for. When we refuse to be invisible, muted, or watered down, that's when we're truly stepping out and being bold and living out. Loud, again, doesn't mean noisy. It means undeniably alive. So living out loud, what spirit means, being led by your inner truth, spirit that's within you, instead of fear or approval. Now, sometimes when fear kicks in, that's that thing, that button that's pushing us to move forward. Sometimes people allow the fear when it comes to them to put them in a corner or in the corner of their couch. I've done that several times. It's like I'll go to the corner of my couch, like, nope, I don't want to do this, not happening. But the thing is that we're called to do, that Spirit has called us to do, it's going to reside within us and it's going to keep coming to the surface. That's our big yes as well. Speaking your truth, even when it shakes. So many times people want to be in this place of what can I do in the times that we're in right now? What can I do? What can I say? Who can I support? Who can I help? Sometimes it's just speaking up for those individuals that may need our support. And sometimes we may not know what it is that we're to say. And that's when we go within and it's like, and ask Spirit, what is mine to say in this? What am I to do? What is mine to do in this time? And listen and acting upon that. Also, living out is about laughing freely, dancing when the music hits you, crying when it hurts. So many times I've known several men that have said, that when they cry, it's like, well, they can't cry because they've been told that if they cry, then it makes them weak. No, it's like that feeling that's within you is wanting to come out. Let it out. Sometimes it's like we may not know what's coming up. There's something resonating within us. And you might hear a song in your head or something. And that's what I was hearing when as we were preparing for service. There was this song that was playing in my head. It's a new song. It was just something that Spirit had just given me the lyrics for. And I'm thinking, it's like, wow, I like that. And I said, well, I need to do something with that. So after here, I'm going to go home and actually write it out or continue to keep listening to what it is the Spirit is wanting me to speak into. But that's what it is. It's living out loud. It's like you're free, allowing yourself to be free, refusing to live in half measures because your whole self is sacred. Living out loud, as an example, living out loud is the difference between I hope I don't offend anyone. Let me change that. Well, I hope I don't offend anyone by being me versus I trust that I am divinely made and I will honor that truth, even if others don't get it. How many times have we felt like that? That it's like, I'm going to be my divine self. Others may not understand it. They may not get it. And sometimes it's okay because sometimes it may just take one person to get it and to know it's like, oh, I understand, I resonate. But that's not going to stop you from truly stepping into your gifts, your powers, and living your life out and living it loud. This month, we've celebrated, there have been several celebrations, several aha moments. The thing that I know, like with June, we go into the summertime as well. June is the month of sunshine and visibility and unapologetic presence. It's not about being loud for attention. It's about being bold with intention. In the science of mind, we're not here to suppress who we are. We're here to express who Spirit is through us. So in this month, we celebrated Pride Month as this week ends our Pride celebration. Pride Month celebrates the authentic love and unapologetic identities of others. We also celebrated Juneteenth, which is again a liberation moment, still echoing the spiritual truth that freedom is a birthright. And we also celebrated summer solstice, which is the longest day of light, calling us to shine fully. It gave us permission, nature has given us permission to let our lights shine. Spirit made you unique on purpose. not by accident. So stop trying to edit what God called a masterpiece. You can say this is a spirit-led insight or attribute or attribute it to your message. For myself, whatever your message is that you want to put out into the world, that this is, you can say that who you are, that what spirit has called you, that you can say this as a spirit-led insight for yourself or attribute it to your message. Whatever your message is that you want to put out into the world, that God called you a masterpiece. I always tell people, it's like, you know what, God didn't make no junk. So I know that I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, and not in an egoic way. But these are the things sometimes that we have to remind ourselves that living out and loud isn't ego, it's echoing the divine. Your voice, your vibe, your vision is all God in expression. If your soul, let me ask you, so if your soul had a volume knob, what station is it set to? Or it's like, how high is it turned up? Or how low is it turned down? Some of us are walking around on mute when Spirit's asking for the concert level truth. It's that living out loud. It's like, let your voice be heard, even if your knees are knocking. And sometimes, many years, it's even when I started this philosophy, my whole thing was, I want to be behind the scenes. I don't need to be seen. No one wants to hear what I have to say, but let me be behind the scenes and do the magic behind the scenes. And even when recognition came, I didn't really want the recognition because I looked at it as I'm just doing what I'm being called to do. And after a period of time, it had me to realize, especially coming into ministry, that this 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 life that I've been called to do, that it is about being out front. It's about being seen. But I don't have to have a sign that says this is who I am. Neither do you. It's about walking your talk and stepping boldly into what Spirit is truly calling you to do. When I think about how many of you are gardeners out there, or even when you've seen roses, any of the flowers, they don't need permission to bloom. This is who they are. They're going to bloom. When you plant the seeds, they're going to bloom. And then you think about the peacock. The peacock never apologizes for the flare. You remember, it's like you've seen a peacock walking down. It's like all of a sudden the tails open up and they're bright. They don't apologize for that. They're just like, see me, here I am. Let me be in my full colors. That's how we are. That's how we can be. When we walk in our true colors of spirit, we don't need to apologize for who we are. Why are we waiting for a permission slip to live out loud? Spiritual courage versus noise. Again, being loud isn't about yelling at people. Let your actions speak for themselves. When you're living boldly, when you're living out loud, your action speaks for itself. But also remember that Spirit whispers to us, not for silence, but for sincerity. Now, sometimes when we listen, I could talking to myself again. I can hear those faint whispers, those inner whispers that come to me, and I'll say, no, I'm not ready for that. Nope, not yet. And then all of a sudden, it feels like the whispers get louder, like this is what you're to do. No, I'm not the one for that. Nope. I started looking around like, who are you talking about? Or it's like, nope, pick someone else. And then this is when people start talking about that spiritual 2x4. I've gotten to the point now, I don't need to have the spiritual 2x4 anymore. I listen to those whispers that come within and I act accordingly. Maybe not all the time, but it's like I work on as I'm called to do what it is the Spirit's calling me to do. I'll say yes. We don't need to be loud to be seen, but we do need to be true to be felt. So let me say that again. We don't need to be loud to be seen, but we have to be true to be felt. Be true to ourselves. Be true to that that's calling us. And some people, it's like, it's good to be loud. This is who they are. And they're loud not just to get the attention on them, but they're loud because sometimes it's like they want to get your attention. Do you hear me? Are you listening? They do this call and response sometimes, and you respond back. And sometimes you have a person standing on the stage and there's a whole audience. And if they didn't have a microphone on, and if they would say to you, do you hear me? Those up front may say yes, but the ones in the back may not. So sometimes it matters to be loud in order to engage others as well. Sometimes the courageousness may be in being still. Spiritual courage is saying no. Sometimes it's choosing joy when you've been trained for pain. Sometimes when that pain comes up, it catches you at, inopportune times sometimes. It's like, I don't know how many of you, it's like it has happened to me and I've had to walk away sometimes, that there's something that comes up within me that I start crying. And it's not one of those ugly kind of cries, but there's tears or something that comes up. And I think about, what is this about? But then I tap into that. And sometimes it could be something of grief. It could be something of just joy. Because sometimes crying in public, crying isn't just about sadness. It's about joy as well. How many times have you gotten up in the morning and you've turned on some music and you're just kind of moving around the house doing some things, and all of a sudden there's this song that comes on and you start dancing around in the living room or dancing around in the house or in the kitchen, wherever you are? That's that place. And you may have people in your house and you're starting to dance around and people may look at you like, what are you doing? It's like, you know what? I'm living out loud. I'm doing me. There's this opportune time for us to be able to do a check within ourselves and to ask ourselves, the truth that we're living, this life that we're living, is it aligned with spirits? Am I broadcasting ego or embodying essence when we're out doing things in the world? Am I doing this from an egoic place, or am I embodying the essence of spirit within me? Am I amplifying fear or radiating love? In these times of where we find ourselves in this moment, in this world, it's easy to amplify fear because we don't know what's happening. We see what's happening on the news. We see what's happening on our Facebook pages, on when we go online. And it's easy to amplify to come from that place of fear. But there is that within us that knows exactly what to do. And that's the time for us to boldly go within, tap within that inner knowingness, and to radiate from that place of love. When we continue to keep sending love out into the world, it does make a difference. We may not see it in that moment, or we could, just depends. But rather than coming from this place of fear, because if you're coming from this place of fear, if you're amplifying fear, you're putting that fear, you're adding that fear out into the world. It's an energetic. So how about amplifying love, radiating love out into the world? Even when situations or people may not, in your mind, they don't need to be loved, but yes, they do. The God within them, that's who we're sending that love to, that we're radiating our love to these individual people that we feel sometimes may not need love. But it's about what we're sending out. Ernest Holmes reminds us that conscious thought directs the creative law. When you think and speak truth from spiritual clarity, you shape your reality. When you think and speak from spiritual clarity, you shape your reality. So when you're thinking from that place, when you're speaking from that place of spiritual clarity, this is helping to create your bold world, allowing you to live out, to live loud, but in ways that's not from the ego, but from that spirit sense. And I was thinking about, the color schemes, and, people say, things, it's like not just black and white, there's color that's there. And what I was thinking was that you weren't born to be spiritually gray. God didn't design you to blend into the couch of the cosmos. Be the divine glitter in a gray world. Allow your light to shine. Allow it to flow. When we allow ourselves to live out, to live loud, we do it in a way that allows us that freedom within. And you can feel it. You can, as you're walking down the street, there's confidence that's moving within you. Allow yourself to stand in that space. So as we move to close this talk, there was, as I was preparing for this talk, there was a poem that I'm going to read to you that I created. And actually, I'm going to take this as a prayer. So if you just allow yourselves to close your eyes, be in this moment, and just take in these words and allow it to embrace you, to lift you up higher than where you've ever been before. This is called This Is Who I Am. At least if you can play a little music in the background, that would be awesome, please. I am not here to fit your frame, not born to bow or play the same. I am a wildfire wrapped in grace, bold in spirit, fierce in face. I am the voice that won't be tamed, the sacred soul that won't be named. By someone else's small design, I'm limitless by grand design. No edits, no filters, no need to pretend. I rise in my truth. I do not bend. I buried the fear, unlearned the shame, danced with doubt, and left it tame, left it lame. This is who I am, unapologetically free, a masterpiece of divine energy. I no longer ask to be seen or heard. I command the space with every word. I laugh without shrinking, cry without fear, stand in my power when no one's near. The chains of should have fallen away. I walk in yes every single day. I am both softness and sharpened edge, a walking prayer, a living pledge. To be fully me without disguise, to meet my reflection and not apologize. So don't mistake this light for show. It's fire forged from long ago. I've earned these wings. I've earned this span. Hear me now. This is who I am. And so it is. Amen.